Hi, Cancer. This is going to be a reading for you for April 2021. It's going to be kind of an overview of the month, and I have been shuffling these cards for what seems like forever, but I will do a few more shuffles just to be sure and make sure it feels the way it should feel when I'm ready to go here, because we want to have an amazing, great, terrific, magical reading for Cancer for the month of April. So let's get to it. I'm just going to do 12 cards and we'll see what we've got. Wow, the same cards keep emerging for everybody. It's really quite unbelievable. Gee, this is like so similar to Gemini's reading. I can't believe it. Like, it looks like I've hardly shuffled, and I shuffle for like a long time before I start. And the cards keep coming up in like batches, all together. And then there'll be new cards in each reading. It's really strange. I almost want to reshuffle, but I don't, because sometimes it actually does go this way. And I did shuffle a long time. I'm going to say at least 20 minutes before I turn on the videotape. Then I did a couple more quickie, little shuffles. So it is the way it is, I guess. Justice. Justice is all about you getting something that you deserve. Often you feel that you've had injustice in the past. Sometimes somebody did wrong to you and you need justice to make things go smoothly. Sometimes it's a court case. Sometimes it's a simple apology. Sometimes something really bad happens to somebody who did something really bad to you. Sorry, but that's the way it works sometimes. And depending on who you believe, you might consider that justice. I know I do. So, justice will be coming your way, which is always good because you will get what you deserve out of the situation. Like I say, sometimes it is a legal matter, which is a little bit different, but still also good. The Ten of Pentacles. This is a really good card. It's not the simplest card, but I mean, overall, it's happy home, happy long life, good health, good home life, good family, lots of love, lots of caring, financial security. It's a really good card. It's one of those completion cards, and it's a really fantastic card. So something to look forward to if you're not already there. But this is the month overview. I mean, sometimes these things are things that will happen in the future. Sometimes they're things that are happening currently. But even if they're not here yet, you're working towards that thing. So here we've got the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords represents some sorrow. You've got some sorrow still in your heart, in your mind. It's really your mind because swords are the intellect. But you can get rid of that. You can pull out those swords and start to heal, and it can happen quite quickly if you don't dwell on these things, or if you get rid of, kind of the root causes of these thought processes. Sometimes we really beat ourselves up, and we have to not do that. You guys, Cancers in general, not everybody's the same. There are always exceptions, but you guys tend to be pretty sensitive and deep thinkers and feelers. So, you guys can be really, really hurt when something is done to you that's wrong. And sometimes it's really, really hard to let go of, but you have to. You have to for you. I'm not saying forgiveness. I personally don't believe in forgiving every time something has gone wrong, but it depends on the situation. But you do have to let it go, whether you forgive it or whether you just put it out of your mind and move on and just take it for what it is, a learning experience, whatever the case may be. Whether you have to kind of reprogram your thought process, that's a good way of getting it out of your head. Whatever it is, deal with it as best you can. Know that time helps, and you will not always be thinking the same way about it. You really won't. I can pretty much promise that. Here you are working hard at something, some task, but you're not really doing it as effectively and efficiently as you could be doing it. So maybe reevaluate that and find a different way to do it. I mean, you see this guy, he's carrying this bundle of sticks, and it certainly is not the most efficient way to carry a bundle of sticks. In fact, not only is he not carrying them in a way that's reasonable for his back, he's also got them in front of his face so he can't see where he's going. So, some task you're doing, or maybe your regular work, could be done better in a way that will serve you better. So maybe try something different. This card is a fellow looking at his world and evaluating things, which is very important. Hopefully you do that and you think about all the different things you might want to do, the things you've already got going on, and, the world you want to create for yourself. And you can do that. And, you've got the power. The card is right here. It's showing you this is you evaluating. And just the very evaluation of something, the very fact that you're looking at something and trying to figure things out. It's amazing how we can then actually figure them out and then decide what to do next. And it starts a really good ball rolling where we get stuff done and everything happens the way it should happen, or maybe even better than it was intended to happen. The Lovers. The Lovers is a card of sensuality, love, and although some people will talk about this as any kind of a partnership, I totally disagree. I say this is actual lovers. This is, love and magnetism and all the stuff we want out of being in the Lovers. So this is a very exciting, very great card to have. It can be the beginning of something very special. And this card is coming up for a lot of people lately, and it's really starting to annoy me. I get it quite often. It's a card where you've got some kind of a decision to make. You have to choose one of two paths, not both, because both together won't work. And it's a tough decision. Or even if it isn't that tough, you're making it a tough decision. You think it's hard. So you have to face it. You have to whip off that blindfold and face it, because she's wearing a blindfold and you don't need to be. Because you can handle this. You really, really can. Now, maybe it has to do something with your financial world, because this card next to it is not one of the best cards in the deck. It is a card of potential poverty. Some people really put a positive spin on this card, and the positive spin is that even though financially everything's going to hell and this person's on crutches or something, and it's snowing and there's no shelter, at least there's this, what looks like a church right here, and so there probably is shelter and solace inside of it, and then they've got each other, so that's great. I'm going to say this is one of the cards I don't put a terrifically positive spin on, although people do accuse me of being way too optimistic. This card can mean, impending loss of financial stuff. So if you have something that's precarious financially that you need to look at, do that. If you are at a job you're not making enough money, or if you don't have a job and need to get one, maybe pool your resources, and if you have any, and try to find a way. If not, seek some help to make this happen before things get really dire. There's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. There's always a phone call you can make, or ask somebody who, if you have a friend who's really happening financially, ask for their advice. Ask them what you should do in this situation. Why not? What can it possibly hurt? Maybe they will tell you some great tips that'll change your life. If you have family that can help you out, tell you how to go about what the next step is. If you have, if you're not in a terrible financial situation, maybe if you have investments or something that you should be keeping an eye on, do that. There are lots of things it could be. This does not have to happen. It certainly doesn't. Maybe you're actually quite comfortable, but you're in a position that is not as good as what you typically are. So work on this. I mean, don't despair. Like, even when there's a card, or even when something's more obvious than a card in your life, something goes wrong for sure, and it's right in front of you, don't panic. Take a deep breath. And you can find a way back. There's always a way to fix things when they are going terribly, This doesn't have to happen. This is just what could happen. It could have something to do with this decision here. It could have something to do with something that's going on that you're already aware of. Um, Whatever it is, let me know, because I'm curious if this turns out to be true for you. I'd like to hear about it. Um, Actually, let's clarify this card a little bit. I haven't done this month, um, but let's clarify. Let's see if there's any hint here as to what's going on here. Oh, okay, okay. The Tower, I believe, is representative of all the upheaval we have going on in the world right now. You know, with all of the stuff that's happening politically, as far as all the restrictions on travel and monetary things that are tumbling down and all of that. Maybe you have a job that's related to something. Maybe you have some financial issues due to the, lack of work situation that has happened, or the, maybe you lost your job because of the current situation, or I don't know what your situation is, and it's probably different for all of you. But whatever this is, this I equate to all the craziness that's currently going on, all the world upheaval. And so, if that's the case, and that's affecting your finances, which it is affecting a lot of people's, maybe that is something. I mean, that's something you can't totally control, but you can control your world, or you can at least do things to change your world. The Emperor is an authority figure, usually representative of Aries. The Emperor, interestingly enough, is usually very much representative of authority. And that could sometimes mean a boss. That could mean somebody who's in authority over you. Um, it could even represent a landlord or something. Somebody who has some control over your, not control, I shouldn't say control, but maybe control in the sense that, if they decide they're not going to rent to you anymore, you've got an issue. Or if somebody won't write you a reference letter or something, you've got a bit of an issue. That sort of thing. Some kind of control. So I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know that that's what that represents. It could be a part of your personality. It could be a lot of things. If you know somebody who's a strong, good, authoritative figure who, is quite powerful, that might be the person this represents. Then we've got the Queen of Swords. She is a good queen who runs a great kingdom, and she's very intellectual, emotionally smart also, so she can really deal with people on an emotional level that relates to intellect, if you know what I mean by that. But she's a bit cool and calculating. She is perceived as a bit cold at times. So maybe you have some of that. Cancers can be quite, you guys are pretty emotional and intuitive and all of those things, but sometimes you're quite reserved, and people, when they're being reserved, can sometimes be perceived as being cool, even if they're actually not. So maybe you've got a bit of that in you. I don't know. But maybe one or both of these people have something to do with a situation where you could be in financial dire straits if you don't deal with it. Or maybe it's just because of the current situation. Whatever it is, I hope this clarifies it at all. Sometimes it does. Often it does. Let's move on, because let's not let one card that's not great overrule all these really good cards. This card isn't great either, but this one is pretty manageable. The King of Pentacles is a very financially successful king, very earthy, somebody who really is stable and has everything kind of lined up in a proper way to always be on top of financial things and security. It can be a person again, or it can be you. It can be an element of you. Whatever it is, it's a very positive card. It's a money card. This is a money card, and this is a money card. This card is not great for money. This does not have to come to fruition. This could just mean maybe you have to check on something in that department. Also health. Now, I did not bring this up. This is not just about finances. Pentacles are about health also. This could mean a health concern. This could mean something, maybe you have to improve your diet. Maybe you have to start to exercise. Maybe you have, maybe if there's heart disease in your family, you want to start doing some exercise and not eating too much fat, something of that nature. It could be something as simple as that. The high priestess. The high priestess is all about intuition, following your intuition. In all of these matters of life, our intuition is so important. She is a very strong female figure. If you are not female, that does not mean anything that's out of sync here. It just means that, you tap into this female energy that we all have, male and female energy, and listen to your intuition, because that's very important to do. And we don't do it enough, actually. Nobody does. Even people who are trying to will often ignore their intuition when they really shouldn't do that. So, go into yourself, think, and use your intuition when you can well, I shouldn't say over just the regular thought process, because if you know facts, that obviously has to be taken into consideration first and foremost. But at the same time, if you have a strong feeling about something, do not ignore that, because that's very important also. So, this is always a very interesting card to me. This card is showing a bunch of cups. And the guy has these cups. Excuse me. I'm allergic to everything, and it's spring, so I'm going to be coughing for the next couple months. Anyway, there's a missing cup. So, theoretically, he's going off in search of the missing cup. So sometimes this is perceived as something negative, because he's not just staying there and appreciating what he's got and being happy and content with that. And sometimes it's perceived as being something positive, because in his life he feels there's something missing that he has to go on a quest to find, and that's a positive. So if you have either of those two conditions in your life, where maybe you have a little tug at your heartstrings to go traipsing off into the wild blue, but you've got the best family in the world and they adore you, and you've got kids, and you've got a pretty good job and everything, and this is your life, and maybe you could pursue that on a smaller level without having to leave the situation, then maybe that's something to think about. But if nothing is really holding you back, you have a nice house, you have a nice home, you have whatever, your friends live here, but you really want to go off and do something else, and nothing is really holding you back that's completely cataclysmic, then maybe you can go off and leave these cups behind. It depends on what the cups are, and it depends on who you are, and it depends on what the alternative is. So think about everything and, figure that one out. That's another thing to figure out, isn't it? Maybe that's the decision. Maybe that's why they're right together. And the Hanged Man seems worse than it actually is, because it's all about, again, going into yourself, like the High Priestess, going within and finding what you want to do next, what you've done, thinking about things, really, just sort of stepping back and seeing what's what, figuring out this decision, figuring out how to do this more efficiently, figuring out how to get rid of these past sorrows, figuring out what you want to do in life, looking at your world and figuring out what you want to do in life. But then you've got all this happiness, and, strong, good stuff happening. Ignore this. This is just your clarification. But your lovers, wow. And the Ten of Pentacles is fantastic, and Justice is great. And, you've got a lot of good stuff. King of Pentacles is very positive financially and for security and health and what have you. So this reading is kind of mixed, but overall, you're going to have an exciting month. And I'd really love to hear how you feel about the reading and, if it materializes for you. So let me know, and have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon.